Navigating through the energies of New Earth is not an easy process and can become extremely overwhelming at times. As we all ascend into higher frequencies, we're all being guided to embrace our own unique divine pathway, a pathway created in the vibration of love. Join Vibe Nation radio host, international psychic medium Carrie Turcotte as she guides her listeners to rediscover themselves by accessing the keys of knowledge that already exist within. Each week's show is divinely orchestrated to intertwine with the universal energies, allowing the listeners to go deeper within and understand the message being shared even greater. When you live in the frequency of love, there is no competition, so Carrie will be joined regularly by fellow soul family members who will bring forth wisdom and knowledge she knows should be shared on a global level. At the end of each show, Carrie will tap into the energies of the listeners to see what message Spirit wants to share with all those listening in for the upcoming week. If you really want to get to know who you truly are, come and join us now on Vibe Nation Radio, here on the IOM Radio Network.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Vibe Nation Radio. And today on my show, I have a very special guest who is also a relative and a dear cousin, Rachel McDowell. Are you there, Rachel?
I'm here, Carrie. Hi.
How are you?
I am lovely. How are you?
I'm doing good, and I'm ready to have some fun here today. It's for those that are listening in, we are going through some pretty crazy energies right now, and the universe is guiding us to keep our vibrations in check through three very simple ways, which is singing, dancing, and laughing. So today I thought, how perfect to have Rachel on so we can get our vibrations rolling with laughter.
And I love that, Carrie. Singing, dancing, and laughing. I'm in.
And of course, we can't start the show off without the host making fun of herself. And, during this crazy journey that we're in, do know that you have to have fun with this to be able to look back and say, wow, now I know why I went through that. And you can laugh about it. And one of the things that I get quite often from people is that, Carrie, when you're doing the radio show or you're channeling for the Vibe Report, you always say, my friends. And I laugh and I'm like, well, it's actually the channel. It's not Carrie.
I did hear that when I was listening, and it was like, boy, she is really, these listeners are her friends. She is really connected, my friends. And I think that spiritual guidance with a little Canadian accent, I really like that too. I think it's
awesome.
Great.
You know what? We are celebrating Victoria Day here in Canada. And it is a holiday, and the U.S. gets their holiday next week. But I heard something really interesting on the radio the other day that in Canada, the only province that refers to this as May 2-4 weekend is Ontario.
Yeah.
And I laugh because I'm an Ontario person. And of course, all growing up, it was May 2-4 weekend. Even though it didn't fall on May 2-4, it was always called May 2-4 weekend. And I learned a little something to say, well, no, it's only Ontario that does that. Everybody else calls it Victoria Day weekend.
And what is it? What does it celebrate? What is Victoria Day weekend, May 2-4 weekend?
It's kind of like what your event is next week, your U.S. It's not Canada Day, but it's kind of the big kickoff of the summer, spring's here, time to go. May 2-4 weekend is always the weekend that most people open up their cottages and get things moving for the summer.
Okay.
So
see, Canadian. So to me, I stereotype Canada as so quaint and so cute. And you just said cottage. I would love. We don't have cottages here. As you know, I'm in California, and I'm going to start using the word cottage.
There you go. That's a new word in your vocabulary, right?
It is. It just makes everything so quaint. And when I was telling a friend I was doing this show, and he was like, you have to tell your Canada joke. And this is so cheesy, Carrie, but I'm going to do it. So I did not write this joke, but a college professor told it to me. But he said, how did they name Canada? And he said they took the alphabet. They took all the consonants in the alphabet and just put them in a bag and started pulling out letters. So they were like, C, eh? N, eh? C, eh?
I've never heard that before. That's funny because
that's great.
A lot. C, eh? Yeah, well, it's just like Toronto. People that aren't from Toronto call it Toronto. There is no toe in Toronto. It's Toronto.
Okay. I was like, how do I say it? Toronto. I do. I toe it.
Yeah, you totally add the T, where we don't put the T in. We just call it Toronto.
Toronto.
So, my friends, those that are listening in today, we just want to be able to bring the vibrations up, and in a spiritual way, just to let you know that this, every day is a blessing. It is a gift. And if you allow the outside forces of what's happening in all of society to get the best of you, you won't be able to laugh at these jokes that we're laughing at because you're too low in the vibration. So throughout the show, we're going to have a lot of fun. Like I said, I made fun of myself already that I'm always saying my friends, or another word that I use a lot is, it's important that you understand this. And I laugh sometimes when I listen to my shows myself or the videos that I record, because I have to watch them myself because, of course, it's a channel. So I don't remember what I said, but I even laugh at myself to say, wow, you really need to be more aware that you're doing this. And then the channel laughs and says, you can't, Carrie, because the channel's on and that's how we speak through you. So it was an interesting conversation I had with Spirit.
I think it's the whole channel, and especially being in a family with someone with a psychic medium. I wonder, it's like, what are the channels telling her? Like, so I try not to have, you want to say like, I don't want to have a negative thought when I'm with someone who's in touch with spirits. Cause what if she can read my mind? Oh. What if, and then
we're not mind readers, honey. We're not mind readers.
Okay. So it's very different then.
Yes. It's tapping into energy, and everyone on this planet is psychic. Everybody has the ability to tap into their intuition. But a medium connects directly with spirit. So, and of course I'm a channel. So whatever spirit tells me is what comes out of my mouth. It's not that I can jump into your mind and, become the mind reader. A lot of times what you're thinking is what spirit's going to tell me, but it doesn't mean that I've stepped into your head. It just means that spirit told me what's going on in your head, not me.
And so people that can read your head, that's a clairvoyant. Yes.
Well, clairvoyant is someone who sees stuff.
Okay.
So there are different ways of using your mediumship, but in all, a medium basically it's either a feeling, they hear things, they see things, or they just know. And I'm one of these people that just knows, because I use all of the clairs with what's happening when I go up to people. But I'm not the typical person just to come out. I mean, if spirit wants me to say something to somebody, I tell them, you figure out how I'm going to say this to them. And you know what? It's up to you to make it a point that if you want me to say this, they either ask me that question so I can answer it, or you make it very evident that I need to give this message to them. Okay. So I don't allow spirit to take me over.
And is this something you've had since you were a girl, a gift that you had, or is it something that you kind of found when you were older and developed, like opened up to it?
I've always had it. When I was very young, I was very in tune with all this. I'm sure your dear husband could tell you all about the family crazy stuff that we've gone through. But when I got into high school and people started telling really what to do, it's kind of when I shut it down. And then through life-altering moments that took place in my life, and really my mediumship kicked in full swing when my father passed. Okay. So that's really when it kicked in full swing. But I've always had it, and I never understood what was going on, again, because, 20 years ago, you mentioned that you had psychic abilities, you're a medium, and they instantly put you into a category as you're a witch.
Right.
It's just like this event that I'll make people laugh about, that I was doing an event, and we put information out, and the flyer said I was going to raise the vibrations of the room through chanting, and guided meditation was what it was supposed to be. But what ended up happening when they went to print, the guided meditation turned to guided medication.
Oh no.
So I was getting phone calls saying, oh my God, what are you doing? You're raising the vibrations of the room by chanting and giving us guided medication. Like, what are you doing? Are you levitating us? And are you calling in spirits? And I'm like, oh, you are evil demons and all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to charge you $25 to come into an event where I'm going to give you guided medication, and we're going to chant us to demons, and I'm going to levitate you all in the room while we're doing it.
That's quite a typo. Those are,
but people actually thought that was the case. So I just thought it was quite comical. And the reason why I laugh about this, my friends, because not everyone is aware of our lingo, our spiritual lingo. So when you say you're raising the vibrations, they instantly are programmed to think something. And I thought, if I'm going to levitate people, it's going to be more than $25 a ticket,
Yeah. And if you're dishing out medication, whether it's guided or not, you're going to have more overhead.
Oh, yeah. Wouldn't that be a trip? So, it's just, you have to laugh at the things that we experience on this trip, because not everyone is awake to what's truly going on right now. And it's an energy shift that's taking place. And I know that we're going into commercial break in a few minutes. So when we come back, I want you to talk about how you became part of the family and how Spirit guided you and Chris to come together, and how we can all laugh at some of the stuff that's taken place, because really you do this for a living. You work with people who are looking for laughter, looking for raising their vibrations.
Absolutely.
And, with how you were pulled into it is very unique for people to hear. And I think that people will get a good laugh, because in a good way, because we're all going through this crazy journey, and there is no wrong or right to what you're experiencing. You're experiencing exactly what you need to experience. So when you can see the joy and laughter in what's taking place, it actually becomes magical, not scary.
Agreed. And yeah, when you can step back and laugh at something, it just it takes away all its power. So something that's negative, and if you can just laugh in its face, then it's just not that scary anymore. It's not that sad.
And
yeah.
You work with a lot of corporations with helping people with regards to this as well.
Yes. That's the angle that I'm working on now, is getting into people, getting into companies and just helping to motivate people and showing the power of just being the funny guy at the office. That guy that's so dynamic that everybody wants to meet and be around and is happy when you walk in the room. And just everybody has that in them. Just how you're saying everybody's psychic, everybody also can be the person that brightens up the room.
Yes. It's a ripple effect, my friends. So if you can walk in and laugh, like when people say, you say that word, my friends, a lot, I laugh. And I'm like, what's the channel? If you had a conversation with me in an everyday, regular day, believe me, I'm not saying my friends. It just kind of goes with the flow of what's happening with the channel. And that's something people will start to notice as they start to tap into this. There's certain words that they will use to be able to guide their way through this crazy journey that we call life. So when we come back, Rachel's going to get into the beautiful story about how her and Chris met. And we're going to get some good laughs along the way. We'll be back soon.
Bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids.
Join Vibe Nation radio host, international psychic medium Carrie Turcotte, as she guides her listeners to rediscover themselves by accessing the keys of knowledge that already exist within. Each week's show is divinely orchestrated to intertwine with the universal energies, allowing the listeners to go deeper within. At the end of each show, Carrie will tap into the energies of the listeners and give a message from Spirit about the upcoming week. If you really want to get to know who you truly are, join Carrie each Monday at 3 p.m. on Vibe Nation Radio.
Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Live with medium Lisa Phoenix, Mediumship Messages and Musings, explores mediumship and all things metaphysical. Lisa Phoenix invites you to reach above and beyond your everyday experiences to explore new dimensions in the spirit world. She will do live readings to connect callers to their loved ones in spirit, shares engaging stories and teachings from her own personal experience, and will have intriguing conversations with other mediums, spiritual teachers, and healers to help you understand the metaphysical world so you can connect to these forces in your day-to-day life. Join your host on this magical and metaphysical journey into the world of spirit every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
Welcome back to Vibe Nation Radio. And today on my show, we have a very special guest, Rachel McDowell, who is actually a dear cousin of mine. And she's going to take over now and share her magic of laughter with all of you.
Sounds good. We were talking. So I am based in California, And Carrie, as we know, is in Canada. But I married her cousin. So I married the California side of the family just in December. So we're newlyweds and kind of basking in that. And you can hear in my voice, we had a big weekend this weekend. Neither one of us are big party people, but we had a Prince dance party on Saturday and then a big engagement party for friends last night. So you'll have to forgive my groggy voice. But I was feeling as you opened the show, the dance and the laughter and the music all weekend long. But we were talking about how I met Chris, and I had a corporate job for 11 years. And I really was unhappy. And I think you said everybody's a psychic. And I always said, I have horrible instincts. I never listened. I didn't think I had any kind of intuition at all. And then just through working on myself and paying attention, I realized I really did. And I had just not been listening to it. So I'm a big believer that you're given signs and you're given little messages all the time. And it's just looking up and listening to them and seeing them. And I feel like I've had guardian angels throughout my whole life. Mm-hmm. If there's a message that I'm missing, that someone will kind of be brought into my life. Mm-hmm. And they're not my best friends. They're not my family. They're these random acquaintances. And sometimes, honestly, I find they're aggravating people.
They're there to trigger you, Rachel. They're there to trigger you.
Yeah, exactly. They're there to make sure to kind of gnaw at me to take a step that I need to take.
Yes.
I'll always talk about like with stand-up, getting into stand-up. I just took a comedy class and I had a job that I thought was my dream job. I was right out of college. I was miserable. I was poor. It's just life was very bleak. And girls at work asked me to take a stand-up comedy class. And I made so little money. It was $31. It was 6 classes. And my brother had to lend me my brother paid for it so I could do something. Yeah. And, but I always think like, okay, that was a guardian angel. Like the girl that asked me that day didn't work with her on a daily basis, but for whatever reason, I had to deliver an envelope to that girl who was sitting at her desk at that moment and asked me if I would join her. Like, please help her. They're making me take this class. I don't want to do it. Please, will you do it with me? Mm-hmm. And I found that it just gave me something to talk about. And so she's a guardian angel. And then I got my job. When I finally left my miserable job, I found a new job. And I was an administrative assistant at a big company. And I had very few skills at the time. I hadn't been in the workforce long. And I put stand-up comedy on my resume. And I found out later that's why I got the job, because my boss at the time said we had a very emotional team and we just needed comedy. We needed comedic relief. So 200 people applied for that job and I got it because I said I was a comedian. Now, meanwhile, I had taken one class at the community college. Mm-hmm. But in that job, I met another guardian angel who this man found out I was a comedian, but here I hadn't done it in over a year. And every time I saw him, he would ask me, had I done a show? When was I doing a show? What did I do the weekend? Did you do a show? And it was so aggravating. And I was so sick of saying, no, I didn't. And well, I'm busy. And I had every excuse in the book, but I was so sick of hearing myself tell this man every Monday that I didn't do comedy, that I just started freaking doing comedy so that I would have something to tell this man about.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't, if he was in this room right now, it would be weird because I'm in my bedroom, but I wouldn't, that beside the point, I wouldn't recognize him. I don't remember his name. So it's like these little special people that pop in, and I have them throughout my certainly my adult life. I don't know that I paid much attention as a child or a teenager, but certainly is my adult life and with comedy. And there'll be times when I want to quit, when I thought like, oh, maybe comedy was just supposed to get me out of Pennsylvania and to San Francisco where I moved originally. And so anytime I'd get intimidated and I'd try to talk myself out of it, mm-hmm. one of these guardian angels would arrive, and it could be, a name of my mentor that I would just see on a marquee that I didn't even know he was in town. And it was like, that's an angel telling me something. Like, this is not something that I can just walk away from. And it's been a wonderful ride. but it certainly got me to your cousin.
Yes.
And hearing these messages and realizing I had my job and did comedy at night, and I was exhausted. My job was intense, and I had a wonderful job, but it wasn't what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah, it wasn't your passion.
So, no. And so I put into motion to leave. I moved to Los Angeles. I finally quit my job. I saved up, and life began. So I went home. I helped my family for a little bit, and I got back to LA. And I had been on this dating site for a year called How About We? So you post dates. How about we go to a comedy show? How about we go meditate? Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I had, so another guardian angel, a friend of mine was talking about a farmer's market, and she got these great Greek dips. So I thought, well, I'm going to go to the farmer's market tomorrow. And I go, and there are couples everywhere. And I just got hit with like my Oprah aha moment. Like, why are you not in a couple? Like, it was just time.
Yeah.
And so I had been on How About We for a year, had done absolutely nothing with it. But just to say I was trying, like, well, I mean, I'm on a site. But so I left. I took my Greek dips, and I left, and I went home, and I logged on, and Chris had posted, how about we go to a farmer's market? So I thought, well, perfect. So I clicked, yes, let's do that. I lined up 4 dates that week. Chris was the last one, and we met at the farmer's market, and that was it. And we clicked, and we're so compatible, and he's just so wonderful. And I had forgotten, like we were about 3 weeks in, and we were talking about our signs. And our signs are really compatible. And I got this flash of, oh my God, I went to a psychic a year ago, and she told me that I would meet my next great love or my soulmate. I forget what she called it, at a farmer's market. And I had genuinely forgotten all about that, and that the farmer's market was everything for me to be open for Chris. And we joke that I manifested him. Like I always say, I made him.
You're my carrot. You were my carrot. You were dingling there all along with the signs and synchronicities, which would, and in Carrie world, we call those the SNS soul sisters, that they're everywhere to keep you in check, so that when you fall off course, somebody else will come in and sprinkle magic, or they'll come in and trigger you to get you back on course to where you truly need to go with your soul.
Isn't that such a nice way to live? Like, to believe in that means that you're always going to be okay. Mm-hmm. So when you're on the wrong path, someone's going to go, hey, jerky, move over.
Yes.
And that's such a relief, I feel like. And I do believe they've been there and they helped me out. And it's wonderful. But Chris, and it's just like where we met in our 30s, and we had both led full lives, and it was like, but we were just each ready to meet each other. And I had maybe 3 years ago, a friend's mother had given me a wish box, and I had written down, I saw on Oprah, you're supposed to make your man list.
Yep.
So if any listeners are lonely, I highly recommend this, or a woman list, whatever you. Yeah. But I wrote down all the qualities I wanted in a man. And then what you're supposed to do is just, have a moment with that and then put it away. You don't look at it. And I'd put it in this dream box and probably carried it to a couple apartments and, just didn't think much about it. And Chris, after we had been together for a little while, somehow found this list. He just found the list. And,
the spirit had something to do with that, right?
Isn't that right?
We got a powerful team on the other side, Rachel. You're part of the family, girl. And we got a lot of loved ones on the other side watching out over us to ensure we stay on track.
It's a wonderful thing. But yeah, he found this list, and it's like I made him. Yep. He's everything on the list. And I almost said I like brown hair and blue eyes, but you're not supposed to be that specific. Yeah. So I did not put that on the list, but my heart did. And that's what he has, brown hair and blue eyes.
Oh, so cute to see you. And honestly, Chris is one of my closest cousins. I basically lived in California growing up. Every summer and every winter I was there, and I was always at Chris's house. That's where I stayed. So it's interesting to see how you were able to co-create Chris into your life, but you've come into a very spiritual family.
Good. Yeah. Boy, your family is so loving and kind and welcoming, and your Aunt Debbie, and they're great. It's
Yep.
I couldn't have asked for anything better.
It's a lot. We like to joke and have fun. We have to laugh at what we've gone through, the craziness that we've all gone through. And you talking about this wish box is something I share with my clients or students, and I call it the vibe box. Same thing.
Okay.
You put words, pictures, things that just make you feel beautiful, so that when you open that up before you go to bed, you're like, oh. And it could be that you're just feeling this bliss, and it allows you to go to sleep in a good vibration, so that you're not going to sleep with all the crap that happened during the day.
Oh, I like that.
So,
and that's what you hear, like you want to just turn off your technology an hour before bed. And boy, if you'd spend some time with the bliss box.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds like a wonderful way to fall into sleep.
Oh, absolutely. And it's a journey, and you didn't realize that you were doing something that was truly going to co-create something in your life. And again, this is not a race, my friends. It's a process. And the higher you raise your vibrations, the easier it is for you to co-create what you desire into your life, because it starts with you. Mm-hmm. You are the vibration of love coming from you. So whatever you're vibrating out of your life, out of your soul, is what you're going to bring into your life. So
what do you tell people to raise their vibration? So because so many people are seeking, and I'm certainly a seeker. I know I have not figured this out, but I did raise my vibrations, but honestly, I'm not sure.
Just by Rachel, just by being in the frequency of love, to, when you're looking at something and feeling, when you were looking at that list, you felt it. You felt the love in those words that you wrote. And that's all the universe needs, because those are vibrations. Mm-hmm. So I say to people, when you're throwing up vibrations, don't try and co-create how it's going to take place. That's up to the universe and you, and it's all divine. So as long as you get in frequency, it's like you put the record on the needle. And once you're in tune with your own soul groove, life sounds to start like a record. It's a beautiful thing. It just keeps moving and moving and moving. It's constantly changing.
Right. And you have to take steps. I think people get stuck into like, well, I'm wishing and I'm doing everything and I'm meditating, like I'm doing everything, but you're not actually taking action. And I think you do have to take that action also.
Absolutely. And there's a joke that goes along with what we just talked about. And I will actually say that as soon as we get back. So stay tuned, my friends. We'll be back in a few moments.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Looking for inspiration?
Want to be inspired?
Not sure where to go?
Find Mark and Kim every Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on Inspired Living.
Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience and all things spiritual.
Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Have you bought into the idea that you have to work hard for your money, that business is hard? I will share some dynamic access consciousness tools to get you out of your own way so you can create a business that actually succeeds. Join me, Simone Millisers, on The Joy of Business at 4 p.m. Mondays Eastern.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hello, and welcome back to Vibe Nation Radio, where today's special guest is my dear cousin, Rachel McDowell. And before we went into commercial break, we were talking about tapping into higher self and being able to raise your vibrations. And I want to share with all of you a very funny thing that happened to me. And again, I'm not making fun of anyone. I'm just laughing with you all, because when you're new onto the spiritual journey, you can go through some crazy stuff. And again, this is about you and what you experience and how your soul takes the experience, not someone else. So anyways, not too long ago, I guess it was about 6 months ago, I had a client I was working with, and I said, can you do me a favor and really start to do more meditation? I will send you a few guided meditations so you can tap into your higher self and get the information you truly need for yourself. And his response to me was, I can't get in tune with my higher self. And I was like, what? What do you mean? And he's like, well, I'm working with someone else, and this person told me that I'm not far along on my journey to be able to tap into my higher self, that I have to come to them every week so they can tap into my higher self. And I just kind of thought that was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And I just said to him, can you do me a favor? Can you do this guided meditation and tell me if you actually connected with your higher self? Because I think you should take that money and put it into your own pocket. And sure enough, he called me the next day and said, oh my God, that was crazy. And I said, see, I said, it's there. You have the ability to tap in. And of course, I thought it was funny, but the person at the other end's not going to think that funny because they're realizing someone's taking advantage of them.
Uh-huh.
You know, and it's just like I had a guided meditation that I did with a group of people, and I gave it to my girlfriend, and she calls me afterwards. She goes, oh my God, that was the craziest experience. She said, it was so beautiful. And she says, oh, I loved it when you started saying, okay, twirl around, twirl around, twirl around. And she goes, and I stood up and I started twirling around, and I started to laugh. And I was like, what do you mean you stood up? She goes, well, you said twirl around. If I'm in meditation, I'm sitting down, so I can't twirl around while I'm sitting. And I'm like, oh my gosh, girlfriend. I said, that is so cool that you were guided to stand up. But, you know, when I say start to twirl the energy around, it's within your higher self when you're working with yourself. And she says, oh, but I had a really good time when I was twirling around when I stood up. And I said, well, that was exactly what you were supposed to experience.
Yeah.
You know, so
keep twirling, friend.
Keep twirling. She said, I stopped twirling when you said it's time to look in the magic mirror. And she goes, and I didn't know what you meant. She goes, I was actually going to go look in the mirror. And I just started laughing more. And she goes, but then I just kind of sat back down again.
a little dizzy, yes. Probably.
Well, and this is about, we're tapping into our creative life energy source right now, my friends. And this is about that creative source energy that we all have the ability to tap into. And, you know, I know on my channel, talking to the people that I talk to for a very long time, we've been talking about a lot of very well-known celebrities that are very high in the creative energies that are leaving this planet. And when they do, it's like they're becoming part of the source energy on the other side. And you're able to tap into this creative life source energy now. And this is something that's happened through Prince's passing, that people have like opened up. It's kind of like as soon as he left this planet, so many people mourned his passing, and it kind of woke them up. And it was like, wow. And now they're starting to see that this creative source energy is really coming through all of us. And it's not like we have a direct connection. And I can say that as a medium, that in order for me to really connect with Prince on a one-on-one base, I have to be able to have somebody who is in tune or connected to Prince to be able to actually channel with Prince. I can tap into Prince's creative source energy and get information for myself, but it's not like I'm having a conversation with Prince.
Well, and we can all get that energy, right? Like that's, yes. I mean, I've had so much fun dancing to Prince, but Prince wasn't on my, I mean, you'll always love to hear a Prince song, but after his passing, it was like, I felt like so many people obviously went back to his music, and I just had road trips where I would just be wailing and having the best time. Mm-hmm. And it felt like such a good way to honor him and appreciate him.
Yes.
And all you heard were these beautiful stories about this man. So as eccentric as he was, it was like I didn't feel like people were coming out and saying anything bad.
Yes.
And I felt like if it was a drug overdose or whatever they decided, the rumors even
yes.
had a little bit of kindness. Like nobody wanted him to have had an end that didn't need to happen, you know, that whether it be by his own hand accidentally.
Yes.
But I just, even like the right wing people, I just felt everybody was so kind and complimentary to this man mm-hmm. who brought God and art together so well.
Yes.
That everybody had to love him. And we went to I told you, the dance party on Saturday. And it was just this random group of people. And it was a David Bowie, another great artist who died. So it was David Bowie, Prince, music all night long. And I'm not a big dancer in public. But you just couldn't help yourself. So I made friends and we just danced the night away, and you just kind of like shimmy into a circle and and dance with a stranger and then go back to a group. And it was all these people singing at the top of their lungs and honoring him. And wouldn't he love that?
Mm-hmm. And it's about sharing the love. And I'm sure you're noticing this now too, as we start to raise in vibrations and we ascend. You'll hear a song you've heard and sung all of your life. And then all of a sudden you hear it again and you're like, whoa, wait a second here. And it hits you in the head because it's now, the words are different now. They mean something to you. They're differently meant. Do you get what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had a moment when I hated my job, and I had a moment where the song, it's by Jimmy Eat World, and it's just a pop song, but it's like, little girl, it just takes some time. Everything's going to be all right. And this is in my early 20s, and when I was so poor, and I was driving to this job I hated, and this song came on the radio, and I was so overcome that I had to pull the car over and just weep. But it was like, so they were telling me, everything's gonna be fine. Like, just relax, Rach. This is not going to be your forever. And I'll often think about, like, boy, if I could tell that girl how good it gets, like that girl would have never believed how many blessings and how much joy was going to come in the next 10 years. But yeah, so that music, and like, it was just like a little fun pop song, but boy, it hit me right to the core.
Yeah. And a lot of it is like Prince, he channeled a lot of his information, and the color purple, when you look at it, I mean, that's connected to third eye, right? So a lot of people started talking about this when he passed, and they're talking about he was connected to the heart chakra, and then he was connected to the crown. And I found it very interesting to hear just regular old media talk about crown chakras and heart chakras and, third eye, because that's not normally something you hear on a radio station, like a regular radio station, not a spiritual one. But it just goes to show you how his work did affect everyone. And some of the words he wrote, like that song, Let's Go Crazy, a lot of the words he put into his songs actually have already taken place 30 years later. So that goes to show you how he was channeling information or channeling his, this creative life source energy. And it was coming out through words, through his songs, because most of his songs weren't even sung by him. They were sung by people.
I had no idea all of the wonderful songs he wrote.
Yes.
Like Nothing Compares to You. I didn't realize that was him. Mm-hmm. And, we were talking offline about Robin Williams.
Yes.
And that was certainly a hit and a heartbreak to everybody. That's another person that you couldn't say a bad word about him. Absolutely. Certainly he didn't live the cleanest life always, and he made mistakes because he's a human being, but boy, did he touch people.
Yes.
I just volunteered in San Francisco. I spent 5 years there, and there's an organization that Margaret Cho, another fantastic comedian, started called Be Robin. And it stemmed from her being very sad. She was a San Francisco comic. It started there, and he helped her and even like paid her boyfriend's rent for a while, like just a kind man in San Francisco. And everybody has stories about him. And so she was so sad. And another man said, you know what? Don't grieve Robin. Be Robin.
Yes.
So she started this movement where we would just do comedy. I did one event. We do comedy on the corner where there's a lot of homeless people. And there's a bucket of dollar bills. And if you need a dollar bill, take one. And you bring tampons and tarps and socks and sweaters. And these homeless people were just encouraged to just take everything they needed.
Yes.
And it was, I have goosebumps just sitting here talking about it. And it was just a fun. And it wasn't only take one and you get one toothbrush. And it was like, if you want 6 toothbrushes, sir, take them. This is for you.
Yes.
And it's hashtag Be Robin. There's a movie. It was wonderful.
Awesome.
And I got to meet Robin Williams. So everybody that spends time in San Francisco has Robin Williams stories. And there is a theater called the Throckmorton. And a comedian would run these great shows every Tuesday in this beautiful old theater in Marin Valley. And he was from the generation of Robin Williams and Dana Carvey, who came up also in San Francisco and still lived there. And so these guys would just come and hang out. And Mort Saul, does that name mean anything to you?
No.
Okay, so Mort Saul was like, he would be the first generation of stand-up comedians, the first political comedian. I think he did the first comedy CD ever. He caused a lot of controversy, but he's a legend. And these men would just go and hang out there. It was a safe place for them. And it's a rite of passage as a San Francisco comedian that you have to do the Throckmorton. Mm-hmm. And so, but I didn't know the comedian in charge. And so I got an opportunity to meet him, and I just kind of blurted out, like, I really want to do your show. It's on my vision board. And I didn't even have a vision board, but I knew that, like, how are you going to say no to me after I told you you're on my vision board? And of course he didn't. So he was like, all right, why don't you come this Tuesday? And I got to go and do this show. And Robin Williams was not there. Dana Carvey was not there, but I was still in the Throckmorton. And I remember being so nervous that I kind of started slow. And then a friend of mine, and if you're a friend of a comedian, you go to so many shows and you support them and you hear the same jokes. Yes, so friends of comedians are very special and so appreciated. So my friend who'd seen me a million times, and he was in the audience throwing his head back and laughing so hard. And so then I relaxed and I just kind of performed for him. I had a great set. I go into the green room, and there is Robin Williams, and he's sitting there, and I came in and I just like babbled like, oh, hi, that was my first time, but not really my first time or something. And he just laughed and he said, well, we'll be gentle. I said, well, not my first time. But so seeing him there, and Dana Carvey was in the balcony. So Dana Carvey actually got to watch my jokes and gave me feedback and just kindness galore. But you would think Robin Williams would sort of hold court. Yes. But he was so quiet, and he just listened to everybody else. And he talked, like, there's a lot of guys that came up with him that maybe did not become that successful. And you could tell he cared about them. Like, how's Chuck doing? And, like, would ask these questions. And we were standing outside. So I was in a foursome with Robin Williams and two other comedians and myself. And we're in Marin Valley, which is a very wealthy area. And this crappy car pulled up into this alley right next to where we were standing. And there's a bank that was closed, but nothing else. And this man we better stay tuned. I hear the music.
Well, you know what?
Let's back up.
We're going to join in that. We're going to jump in that car when we get back and finish this story. And then I'll do the actual week overview of the energies that are going on. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
Dr. Kevin here, and I want to invite you every Thursday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, to join me on The Dr. Kevin Show, where we have a diversity of guests who help you step outside the box, behind the curtain, and see what a load of crap is going on in the world today, so you have more information with which to make better decisions. We'll see you there. Namaste.
Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Are you wondering what is really going on behind the news? Check it out. Join your hosts Cielito Pascual and Diana Gold Holland on Share on the Air Radio for thought-provoking views behind the news, Sundays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio. You can also find us on shareontheairradio.org. This may be the message of hope you've been waiting for. Check it out.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio.
Hello, and welcome back to Vibe Nation Radio, where today I have my dear special cousin on, Rachel McDowell, who's a comedian. And we were just jumping in a car before we went to commercial. So, Rachel, you go ahead and take over, sister.
Okay. No, and I feel like this is so fun, Carrie. And I feel like I have so much to say that I'm babbling. So I'm going to slow down.
We're in spirit time, sister. That's why the show goes by so fast.
It does. Yeah. I made all these notes, and I haven't hit any of the things I thought we would talk about.
It's okay.
So we're standing in this alley, and this really crappy car comes, and this guy and Robin Williams starts just kind of talking like, who drives a blah, blah, blah in Marin Valley? And so he's kind of making fun. And the guy gets out of his car, gets in the dumpster, gets back in the car, turns around, and comes back and gives Robin Williams the finger and says, all comedy's crap. Everything after Lenny Bruce is BS, but he said it. And we were just all stunned. Like, this man just gave Robin Williams the finger, and we all just kind of sat there and didn't say anything. And then a moment passed, and Robin Williams said, 4 professional comedians, and not one of us had a comeback. So that was the day Robin Williams called me a professional comedian, and it was a wonderful day.
Well, and think about that. When you think about that moment, you raise your vibrations back up because of that feeling of love the 3 of you had together, or the 4 of you. Right?
Well, you know, interestingly, I got sick that night. So it was such a big night for me, and it was such a dream come true. And that night I got violently ill, and I didn't have a sip of alcohol. Like, I was out of commission for 24 hours. And I remember my friend came to bring me like a drink. And so I was just dead to the world. I had nothing. And I don't know if that was energy. I don't know what happened, but I was so depleted. I think I was so elated that I needed a day.
Yeah. That's energy. That's energy, sister. Like when I work with people that are very high vibrationally, or when I do gallery readings and stuff, I know that within a couple of days, I'm going to be like down for the count. Because it's like you're rewiring. So you're around these people that are in the same frequency as you, and your body or your soul is rewiring with this new energy that's illuminating from them. So you would have been raised to another vibration, and that probably would have made you extremely tired the next day because you were raising your vibrations to a level that you haven't really been in tune with before.
Well, it was like flu sick. Like, it wasn't just tired. I was sick.
That's what we call the ascension flu. We can get into that in another. I can tell you all about the ascension flu off air, sister.
I would love to hear about it. But his beauty, and I remember I saw him at a show, and everybody was lined up to take pictures, and some kid kept getting pushed out of line, and he just yelled back, "I see you, kid. I'll make sure we get the picture." Like, was a beautiful person.
Mm-hmm. And I think that what Spirit's trying to say, because now they're like going, let's just talk about this message for a second. Spirit is saying that through laughter, you know, it's such a way to raise your vibrations. And Spirit really wants those that are listening in today over the next week to fill your life with laughter and realize that, you know, there's a lot of people they're saying that are listening right now that are vibrating still on what they don't want instead of what they do want. And it's causing the process of their life to take off, to slow down. And they're saying that a lot of people are not forcing things to happen in their life because they have choices to make. But they're waiting for somebody else to make the choice instead of for themselves to take their power back and make the choice for themselves. And really, they're saying that's the boys. The boys are getting the best of people. And it's time to really open up and shine who you are. And if you can laugh, if somebody looks at me and says, Carrie, you're a crazy psychotic witch, I'll laugh in their face because I actually think it's funny that somebody would still put me in that category when in actual fact, I'm here to help shine the light. So, you know, a lot of things that are said to me, I can laugh about it. But I just want people to know as you're going through this spiritual journey and you're coming in tune with who you are, that when people try to lower your vibrations, it doesn't hurt as much if you start to laugh about it. And I can see the triggers. And I know you do that through comedy a lot and even yourself. Like
absolutely.
You can laugh at stuff that people say to you. You're a comedian, so you can see the better half of it. But if everybody brought that comedian out of them and use that comedian when people try to take you down, life would be a lot better, my friends.
Brush it off.
Yes.
Brush it off and giggle.
Exactly. Yep. And I know that we didn't get too deep into too much today with the comedians, because again, we go into Spirit time and Spirit will tell us exactly what we need to talk about, sister. So I do want people to understand how to find you, and I want people to be able to, you know, you've got some upcoming events. So, you know, let the world know what you're doing, what you're up to right now, Rachel.
Great. Now I have a lot going on. It's all local, so most of it's in Los Angeles. But then just in the next 2 weeks, I'll be working with Wendy Liebman, who's a great comedian. I have an improv group called Destiny's Stepchild. It's an all-girl improv team. We're doing a show there on the the 24th with Jody Miller, who was really big on America's Got Talent. So we'll be doing that. I will be working, doing a storytelling show for a female LA Riot Girl Festival coming up on the 10th, but it's all on my website, which is just my name, rachelmcdowell.com. And if you're not in Los Angeles, go support somebody else's show. Like, comedy is so fun. So if you don't do it, add it to your little soul workout and go and catch some improv or some stand-up. And my other big thing is I'm working on corporate speaking. So I've started doing speaking engagements, and that's something I can travel for. I can certainly travel for comedy. So if there's any need for that, reach out to me. I would love to come and talk to your organization about adding some laughter.
Yeah, and it's where we all have the ability to raise our vibrations through laughter. So what I'm getting right now from Spirit is just that everybody listening in, you just have to take a deep breath and laugh about what's taking place and realize that if you allow it to get the best of you, that's your ego taking you down. Because there are those whispers that the universe always whispers in your ears, regardless if you think they're guardian angels, if it's God, if it's signs and synchronicities. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you get those signs and synchronicities or where you believe they're coming from. They're there to say to you, raise your vibrations and look at some of the crazy stuff you've done and laugh about it. I mean, the biggest joke I got going about me, like I'll use myself as an example here, is, some of the crazy stuff I've gone through was with a relationship I had, and the person that I had the relationship with, whose name was Damien. And he was born on the 6th month of the 6th day of 69.
Oh. And you didn't pick up on that?
Well, I did, but you know what? There was other things on my mind at that point. But now I look back, and it made me realize that I went through to make myself a stronger woman. I am where I am today, and I got my beautiful son out of that relationship. I was never married to the man, but I mean, we lived together, and I got a beautiful, Prezi out of that, which is my son. So I have to look back and see some of the crazy stuff that I went through, and I have to laugh about it, saying I had to go through that to be able to get my son out of the deal.
Yep. And whenever I'm in a low point, I think like all bad bad things turn into good stories.
Yes.
So sometimes if I'm stuck with something, I'm like, oh, this is going to be funny later.
Yes. And it's, it's just like, I don't know why Spirit is telling me this, and I probably, because they just want me to get it out of my mouth before I forget about it, is right now I'm working a lot with a lot of twin flames on this journey. And over the next 5 weeks, Spirit told me not to create my show lineup, and I didn't understand why until the other day. And they said, because we're going to do a 5-week twin marathon, and we're going to go back to the basics. We're going to bring on some special guests to help people understand the journey of, it's a sacred journey back to one. And to help people that are just waking up to all of this, to understand that you're not crazy. You have to laugh about it and realize that it really starts with you. And that's the purpose of doing this twin marathon, so that we can help the twins out there understand how to take their power back and be able to move forward in who they truly are. And, I'm not going to get into this too much, but I truly believe that Rachel and my cousin Chris are twins. We got into it a little bit earlier, but again, it's just how the vibrations, we vibrated a much higher level. And I'm sure when you met Chris, you started vibrating off the chart. Did you not, sister?
I don't, it was so easy. So I think I relaxed my vibration, which is not my regular setting.
There you go.
So I think it was just like, oh, okay.
This feels good. This feels right.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh,
I'm not going to worry. I'm not going to fret. I'm just going to ride this. So it was the easiest thing probably that's ever happened to me.
That's good. And, that's just goes to show people that you weren't sweating it. And because you do comedy for a living, you were able to raise your vibration so that when you met Chris, you were already vibrationally there as a match.
Right. And it took time. It took time for me to be ready for him.
Yes.
Like I really did get myself ready for him. And I remember asking myself in some self-help thing, like, would you date yourself? And I remember going, I wouldn't. And then so I spent a couple of years like, I wouldn't date me. I would have fun with me. I'd go laugh and have a great time, but I wouldn't have dated me. So I made myself into somebody that I would have dated. And it gave me I felt like I just had all the confidence in the world when I met him. And I was just ready.
Well, and, that's a really big, message that you just shared with everyone, that you fell in love with yourself because like I always say to those that are in twin relationships, that if your beloved was to knock on your door today, could you pack up and leave and go to the other side of the world and carry on life with them? Most people would probably say no. But they're so eager to have this love in their life and not realizing that it starts with you. And when you learn to love yourself and love who you are, that is what brings the love into your life.
Right.
And you're a perfect example of that, Rachel.
Oh, thank you. I'm proud to be an example of that.
You found yourself now that you and Chris are together, you're radiating love together, because he's also in the music industry. So he's got the creative juices going on.
That's right. Yeah, he works. He's a music editor for Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, Chicago Med, and now Chicago Justice. So your listeners support NBC shows.
Yes, my cousin does the sound, and Rachel's right there making him bring his vibrations up so that he can tap into the creative juices as well and create the new music that's coming. Because we both know that he's starting to create new things. So, and Spirit told both Rachel and Chris yesterday, we'll just leave it on this, that when they're out doing their travels this summer and enjoying life, watch for the signs and synchronicities, or the SNS Soul Sisters, because they're going to start putting jingles into your heads.
I love it.
So, anyway,
I'm listening. I'm ready.
Thank you so much, Rachel. We've run out of time. See how fast the show goes by, my dear. It goes by so quickly.
Thank you so much, Carrie.
You're welcome. And if anybody wants to find Rachel McDowell, again, it's rachelmcdowell.com.
Yep.
And you can find her directly from my website as well. And remember, my friends, fill your life full of laughter, and know that by doing so, you're raising your vibrations, and it's allowing you to find the magic that's truly in your life. You just have to look for it while raising your vibrations, and you'll see it right there. Have a wonderful week, my friends. Enjoy this energy, and I'll be back next week to start the 5-week Twinathon to help all those twinnies out there on their journey.